Hey everybody, we're August 22nd, going to give you a update on Guntersville's fishing report. It seems like we're trying to get into that fall bite. I'm starting to see some shad go shallow, get in the grass, but it's still just so hot outside. I think right now the temperature outside is 99. The feels like 106, 107, and we've kind of been in this pattern for a while. We had maybe a few days where it kind of got cooler, the water temperature started dropping. I think that's where I saw the movement happen, and then just right back to dog days of summer. So there is a deep bite still happening on the lake. It's not everywhere. Schools are not these humongous schools anymore. They're like little groups. So I'd call it like 5 to 7 fish groups instead of these 50 to 100 fish schools. I'm a grass fisherman. I don't know why the deep thing's still happening, but it is. I've never seen it linger this long, but it has been lingering. So great for the guys who want to fish offshore, which actually makes the lake nice because it spreads that everyone out so much. You can go fish super shallow, you can fish outside grass lines, you can go fish ledges, and this lake like swallows boats up. So that's awesome for the fishery, but as a grass guy, I want them to leave. I want those offshore fish, those ledge fish to leave and swim shallow. But what I've been doing mostly is 4 things. I'm a grass fisherman. That's what I look forward to all year. This is my favorite time of year. Starting out with the big worm. This is the X-Zone Blitzworm in Redbug. I use Redbug or Plum. Really the only 2 colors I use. And I throw that on a 1/4 ounce Titan tungsten sinker. That's actually their flipping sinker, not their worm sinker. And I like it a little bit more. It seems like it's a little bit more compact, a little bit fatter. Seems to kind of go through the grass better. Put a bobber stop on there. That's a 5/0 EWG Gamakatsu hook. And I can just cover a lot of water. I can get on the outside of a grass line and cover a whole lot of water in a short amount of time. If you want to just get bites, put on the deception worm, put it on a drop shot, 1/4 ounce weight. It gets a lot of bites. Problem is the size. The blitzworm right there, you're going to get bites from small ones, plus you have a chance of catching a big one. I think last week I only got a guy. Client caught one already at 6 pounds on this. So it catches big ones, it catches small ones, catches anywhere in between. I throw that on a 7.2 heavy Corrado rod. That's my favorite worm rod. It has the right enough now tip where I can really throw it a real long ways, but it's got plenty of backbone to get them out of the grass. So that's the favorite rod. I throw that on a reel. I throw it on an XG, Corrado 150 MGL XG. Great casting reel. Throw it on 15-pound P-line tactical. That is the best size for me. 15-pound, to me, you can get casting distance, but then you also get, it's got great abrasion resistance. You're not going to break off, but the line's not too big where it kind of keeps the worm higher and doesn't let it float. It doesn't let it sink as quick. So I like 15-pound. That's just my best overall size. So 15-pound P-line, 7.2 heavy Corrado rod, Corrado 150 MGL. I throw the XG, just pick up a lot of line. When you're done with the cast, you can reel it in real quick. Another thing, and this is kind of the hype all year, last couple years, been the glide bait craze. This is something that I wouldn't do if I'm trying to go catch a bunch of fish. If you're trying to catch a bunch of them, don't throw this thing right here. If you're just going to try to go out and catch 2 or 3, maybe 5 all day, this is the bait for you. I just cover a lot of water on grass lines with it. It's not always a visual bite. Just sometimes it might get out of my sight or make a long cast and you can't see it. But what's awesome about it is when you're looking at it and you see one come up, they attack the thing. So this is the Scottsboro Tackle Glide right here. What I like about it, it's about as natural as they come. A lot of glide baits, great action, but they're not really realistic. And to us at Guntersville right here, that looks like a shad to me. It's the same size as a big thread fin, perfect color, perfect paint job, great action. With this one, I'm using the quick half turns of the reel, and I don't want it to really pause, just because we have so much floating grass, and the grass is right almost underneath the surface. A lot of places, you got a foot or 2 foot, somewhere 3 foot. So I'm trying to keep it visual so I can see the bait. And that's where this comes in handy. This is, like I said, this is a Scottsboro Tackle Glide. You can get them from them. They do drops. They release baits every time they get a batch, every time he gets a batch done. I throw it on 20-pound P-line tactical. I mainly do it just because of the cost of these baits. I would actually rather throw it on like 17 I'm not a big 20-pound guy. I just think it's too big. I've always been 15-pound, 17-pound, but I throw this on 20, mainly because 20 does lift the bait up a little bit in the water, and it's an expensive bait and I don't want to lose it, and I boat flip everything with it. Not a big fan of putting my hand around a fish where it's got it sideways with these hooks. They're super sharp. I believe they're owner hooks. So that's another great thing. I throw this on a Corrado 200, the new Corrado that's come out, Corrado M. I like it on I've been trying different rods with it. I'm bouncing right now between the Corrado, it's a flipping stick, Corrado 7/8 extra heavy, and that's what I actually used to punch mats with. It was designed for throwing a swim bait, so I like doing that. I've been bouncing between that and then a Loomis IMX 895. So that's the kind of the two rods. If you're a Loomis guy, I would go with the IMX 895. That bait only weighs like 2 ounces, so it's not a bait that's gonna kill you. It's not one of those 5-ounce Clyde baits, not humongous. So 895 is the perfect rod for it. And if you're a Shimano guy and you want to use Shimano rods, I use the 7/8 extra heavy Corrado rod. That's outside grass lines. That's what I'm doing with that. Just covering a bunch of water, and it's working from one end of the lake to the other, all the way from Roseberry, Jones's Cove, all the way to Honeycomb. You just put in wherever you like to fish, cover a bunch of water, and you get bites everywhere. Mainly is outside grass lines. That's the main key. Points, any kind of little dip in it, humps, it's all good. You just have to figure out where they're at that day. My suggestion is put your trolling motor down, just go fishing, put a big worm in your hand, put the swim bait. You have a chance of catching numbers with the worm, big ones on the swim bait. And my favorite time of year is upon me. This right here is just, it makes me happy inside. So this is frog fishing. That's me and Dad fished a Mint Creek Open a few weeks ago, and the biggest ones we had came from a frog. We had 3 that weighed almost 18. I think we had 17, 14. And it's the time of year that you're going to start doing it. The hardest thing right now, there's not a lot of mats that's ready for it. The grass isn't quite yet ready. It's not hollow underneath of it. It's not dead on the top, but it's coming. We found just a couple little areas that was right for it, and we kind of capitalized on that. I throw 2 frogs. I like the Spro one this time of year. These 2 are my favorite for this time of year, just because not everyone's doing it, and they seem like they're eating bigger brim right now. So that's the Spro right here. This is the Toad Thumper. It just mimics a big brim. I like the yellow. If you've ever seen a brim this time of year, they're yellowish brown. So that's why I like the brown Spro and the yellow Toad Thumper. One that I will be throwing in a month and a half is the Jack LeCuyer, little small profile. I like that frog when they've been beat to death and everyone's been frog fishing. We've already had all the frog tournaments come through, just because they're so much pressured, and that little frog really seems to make a difference. But this time of year when it first gets going, I'm just trying to make a bigger presence, mimic the brim. So that's 2 I use. I throw it on 65-pound Power Pro. I don't kind of get cute with that. I want to be able to get them out. This right here is a rod that I helped with, and it's probably one of the best frog rods I've ever had. It's a Zodius 7/4 Extra Heavy Plus. What you want the plus for, that was just straight backbone, because you need just enough tip to be able to make a long cast, and accurate enough if one blows up in the mat or you miss one, you can throw back and get your frog right there. But mainly you're just wanting stout rod. So that's what they came up with that. This is right here is the Corrado 200 XG. The reason I want XG is just to be able to pick up a lot of line quickly, especially if one misses, I can reel it and throw back out there. Or when I get one, I'm trying to just winch him. This is straight power. There's no kind of finesse. This is mono-y-mono, man versus bass. So that's something that I love. And lastly, a technique that don't get to do much on guide trips, I do enjoy to do it, is punching mats. It is a way to catch big ones. It's not a way to get a lot of numbers of bites, and it's not the most exciting thing in the world. It's not a visual thing. There's lots of grass gnats this year, so they're kind of pretty much terrible. But when I do it, this is 65-pound Power Pro. Like I said, I just want to try to get them out of there. I'm not worried about line shy fish. Usually when you're punching, they get it pretty much as soon as it goes through. That's 1.5 ounces Titan tungsten singser. And the main thing is the spear point hook. I've played around with a lot of hooks. I've tried Trokars, I've tried Owners, I've tried Gamakatsus, I've tried pretty much every hook they make. And my problem is either the hook points rolled because the hooks was so sharp, the hook points rolled, or they might not have been the sharpest things in the world, but they would bend out. So a lot of hooks, the problem with them is if the hook point's too sharp, the hook point rolls. If you don't have that extreme cutting edge, the actual hook bends out, it flexes, it bows out. Catch a 5-pounder and your hook's kind of way out to here. I've never found a hook that I really loved. Last year I found this one. This is a spear point. This is the 3/0 spear point. It took me a little bit of convincing myself and getting over with the design of it. I didn't understand it. After I talked to Art from Spear Point, he kind of explained it to me. And that right there is the best flipping hook they've ever produced. Once you hook one and once that hook actually penetrates and it goes past that little bend, he's not coming off of there. You lose very little fish. It does not flex. It's a super sharp hook. The hook point's not going to roll. The hook's not going to flex. You lose very, very few. I flip it on a 7/8 extra heavy Corrado rod. Like I said, that's the same rod I throw the big glide bait on. It was meant to throw swim baits on. I didn't know it was meant to do that. I said it was the greatest punching rod, big flipping, heavy ounce, heavy flipping rod that there was. So I kind of took it over and said it was a punch rod to me. This is the Corrado 70 XG. I like the 70 size just because it's smaller in my hand. I never take the rod and reel out of my left hand. I flip left-handed all day. So I just want something that's lightweight, fits good in my hand. That's the 70. It's to me the perfect setup. You can do it all day long. No fatigue on your elbow, no fatigue on your arm. So Corrado 70, 65-pound Power Pro, 7/8 extra heavy Corrado rod, and go flip mats and throw a frog if you want to do that. If not, like I said, pick up the Blitzworm, pick up the MM26 from Scottsboro Tackle. Oh, forgot to, right here. That's my flipping bait of choice when I do get to do punch mats. It's an X Zone. This is like 5 or 6 packs I just shove into one, just makes it easier. That's the 3.5-inch Adrenaline Crawl. What I like about this bait right here, I don't get cute with colors. I flip black and blue or some kind of a green pumpkin. To me, it's more about putting the bait in front of the fish than it is, what color flake a bait has. But it's got little appendages right here, so you have a little action. Not crazy amounts of action, just enough where there's some flapping going on. The bait is really thin, so the sinker goes kind of over it, kind of, covers the bait. What that helps it do, it helps it go through the mat. It's got a long enough body to where it can handle a 3 or 4/0, whichever hook you want to use. But the cool thing about it, it's just thick enough to where I can rig it up real fast and show you. It's just thick enough where the barb, that's the biggest thing. You want that barb right there to be in the bait. That way the bait doesn't keep coming undone. So it has enough where the barb's in the bait, the hook point's right, I can feel it, so it's just right underneath the skin, so it's not going to get hung anything. The sinker's actually going to cover the bait, so it's going to slide in the mat very easily. It handles the 3 or 4/0 hook. Perfect punch setup, perfect punch bait. And I just kind of keep it simple. Those are the 4 rods that's on the boat until we are on the front of the deck, until we get some cooler weather where we can start throwing top water. That's what I'm going to use. That's the setups. Hope this helps y'all. And if you have any questions on gear, hope this gear kind of shows you, puts you in the right direction. A lot of times this time of year when I get guide trips, people just have the wrong equipment that they fish with. They get in the boat and they say, oh, I usually use this. And I say, well, no, you need to use this. It just makes you more of a fishing as an angler. And I'm not talking, what companies. I'm just talking as far as the actions, either the extra heavy on the punching setup, the extra heavy on the frog. Don't bring a knife to a gunfight. Don't show up to Guntersville and think you're going to go have an enjoyable trip throwing a frog and punching with a 7-foot medium heavy, because you're going to have bites. You're going to have a lot of heartache. So, hopefully the tips as far as the rod reels, lures, and everything helps out. And if you have any questions or have any comments, comment right below. Put it in the comments. I answer everything. So hope this helps. And next time, if we get a cool down, I'll do another fishing report when we get cool down. As of right now, I don't see the patterns or baits lures changing for a few weeks until we get some kind of a relief. So as long as it's going to be 88-degree weather, that's 4 setups I'm going to check out in a few weeks.